Hello and welcome back to another episode of Vikings Happy Hour, fresh off the Super Bowl where the Eagles just dominated the Kansas City Chiefs. I've never seen Patrick Mahomes quite look so flustered in a game, but yeah, it's officially off season, right? Like we've kind of talked about it for a few weeks that like the off season is right here. The rumors were kind of swirling last week with Sam Darnold. We still haven't heard of Kwesi extension. So who better to bring on than the guy who's most plugged in the Twin Cities here, Darren Wolfson.
Oh, no, that's you.
That's me, Matt. Okay.
All right. Checks in the mail.
All right. I appreciate that, Matt. Nick, good to see you.
So yeah, Doogie, let's dive in. First of all, how are you doing? It's been a long time since you've been on the show. We took a 1.5 year hiatus, but we're back in full swing. So it's good to have you back.
It's good. It's busy. Like in the last few hours, caught up with Derek Falvey, who runs the Twins front office. So baseball's on my mind.
Yes.
Clearly the Wolves/Lynx ownership situation, seeing what happens next, when exactly this Board of Governors vote will take place, even on the court stuff with the Bucks and Thunder here the next couple days. But I'll tell you what, Matt, like I wrote on my calendar just like an hour ago, 2 weeks from today. So Tuesday, February 20, I guess that would be 5th, 2 weeks from today at the Combine, Kevin O'Connell at the podium early afternoon. 30 minutes later, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah at the podium. And so things will ramp up considerably, not only 2 weeks from now, but really everybody will be in Indianapolis 2 or 3 days prior, right? That Sunday, the 23rd, that Monday, the 24th, into Tuesday, the 25th. So much stuff will be happening. And as you guys know, free agency starts, I guess it would be 1 month from Monday. So the countdown is on. We are now less than a month from the start of free agency. And you guys know this. The Vikings rule this marketplace. So as much as I want to talk about the Wolves or the Twins or Gophers basketball, you name it, it doesn't even compare to the amount of interest in the football team. So the Vikings are always front and center on my mind.
Well, let's start with the guy who makes the decisions, even though it's kind of collective at some points. But Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, we know that Kevin O'Connell got his contract extension a few weeks back. Still nothing on the Kwesi front. I know you've come out and said that you believe that will get done at some point. But do we have a timeline? Like it, because I feel like the longer you wait with this, the more speculation gets added to it, and maybe you know. Make Kwesi's camp upset, or is it pretty clear behind the scenes that like, hey, Kwesi, we'll get this done. Let's just get through maybe draft season and free agency. Let you focus on your stuff, and then we'll take care of that afterwards.
Yes, I mean, I wish I could tell you an exact timeline, Matt. I mean, I'd like to think it's not after draft and free agency season, so we're not talking mid to late June into July before the start of training camp, but I guess is that possible? Sure, but hearing that it's going to get done, I don't see why it doesn't get done before he hops on that airplane to Indianapolis. Why not get this thing done in the next 2 weeks? I get it. He was busy in Mobile at the Senior Bowl, so he was tied up that week. Sometimes you don't like putting out any news the week of the Super Bowl. Okay, well, that's now in the rearview mirror. So whether it's this week or next week leading into the Combine, I just don't know why you can't get this thing done. It should not be a real difficult negotiation. So I'd like to think it happens sooner rather than later. But bottom line, I fully expect it to happen.
Do you get the sense at all that, like, you know, when you look amongst the internet, and we know that Twitter is not the great place to source your news from, but when you look out there, obviously Kwesi's draft history is not been good. The jury's out on this last year's class. Do you get sense that ownership is like tepid about that at all, or do they have full confidence in Kwesi Adofo-Mensah?
Well, probably somewhere in the middle, Matt. I mean, not like I have this rock solid relationship with Mark, Ziggy, sure, Lenny, and company, but probably somewhere in the middle. Like they get it. They're logical. Yes. How could you look at that 2022 draft class and be like, hey, great job? Or sure, enough question marks still with the 2024 draft class. Maybe even some question marks outside of Addison, you know, with the 2023 draft class. You look at the Lions, heck, look at any number of successful organizations right now, how many draft picks they have hit on. Heck, look at the Eagles, right? You mentioned, hey, you know, we're just a couple days removed from the Eagles hoisting that Lombardi trophy. Heck, I remember watching the Eagles on Monday Night Football in September against Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. I never would have thought in that moment after the Falcons won that game forward a few months later that the Eagles would win the championship.
Yeah.
But outside of that little hiccup when they were up big at Washington in December, they pretty much won every game after week 4. So 2-2 turned into 1 loss the rest of the year. Well, a big part of that Eagles success, look at all the draft picks they hit on, right? Like everybody's talking about this defensive tackle, right? That was what, a 3rd round pick a few years ago out of where? Louisiana Tech, Williams, that, hey, he makes logical sense for the Vikings, that the Eagles are going to lose him. Okay, well, you hit on that draft pick. You hit on the cornerbacks. One returns an interception for a touchdown. Small world. His dad, Cooper DeJean's dad, college roommates with my colleague Chris Eggert here at Channel 5. So pretty cool, right? That Chris Eggert has a great connection to the DeJean family. But you think about all the success, right? We can go up and down the roster for the Eagles, like all the picks they have hit on. So yes, if you're the Wilfs, how would you not wonder what the heck is going on? It's not just Kwesi, right? It extends down to the scouts, the scouting department. There's a lot of fingertips all over the draft process, right? With Ryan Griggs and others. So it's not just Kwesi, but when you run the department, when you are the final say guy, it stops, at your doorstep, right? So Kwesi has to answer those questions. Those are all fair questions. But when you have perhaps the best free agent class in team history, a rich team history, you deserve some level of credit. Again, collaboration, right? Brian Flores selling Van Ginkel, right? I mean, a lot of moving parts there. That wasn't just Kwesi, just like, swinging and missing on some of these draft prospects. Not all Kwesi, but based on that free agent class just about 1 year ago, you have to reward the man. You have to extend him. I'm not suggesting it has to be the same term as Kevin O'Connell. It certainly isn't going to be in the same monetary vicinity of Kevin O'Connell, not even close. But you make the move to extend him. He has earned that opportunity, and I fully expect the Wilfs to do that. They understand that.
Hitting the quarterback, hitting on an edge rusher, allowing other players like Dwight McGlothern or Jalen Redmond to get more time and develop would cure a lot of sins, and I think we'd quickly move on from the 2022 class of those premier players can hit, Doogie.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, and hey, they still had to win a recruiting battle on Ivan Pace Jr., and we can debate what the ceiling is for Ivan Pace Jr., right? But he nearly signed with the Jaguars. The Titans made a strong push. The Vikings won. It was quick. It was a very fast battle, but they had laid the groundwork long before that Saturday after the 7th round of the draft, right? So doesn't Kwesi deserve credit for that? Sure. Redmond, McGlothern, who I think has a chance to earn some legitimate snaps here pretty darn soon. So sure, I get it. Plenty of swings and misses. Heck, we were at a Ronald McDonald event on Monday with Brian Asamoah, who I love. A-plus guy. Big fan of Brian. I don't think it's going to work out here in Brian's final year under contract. Phenomenal special teams player, but I don't think it's ever going to work, him earning legitimate defensive snaps. Okay? So that's another one, right? You take a guy, top 3 rounds, you want to hit on a guy like that. Sure, he's hit special teams-wise. And hey, if Brian Flores was here then, not Ed Donatel, maybe they don't make the Brian Asamoah pick. But we can sit here and say, probably hasn't worked out, right? So we can go up and down the list. I still think Jordan Addison, though, is going to be a star.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do, and hey, like, we can't have another offseason with some sort of issue, right? Like, Uncle Mercy on that stuff. So they've met with him. They've spoken with him. They've said everything they need to say to him. Okay, so it's now time for all that to fully register in his brain. But talent-wise, that kid is so darn good. He really is. And hey, the next handful of years, number 2, because JJ is number 1, Justin Jefferson, Jets. That's fine. But Jordan Addison could be a number 1 for a lot of teams. So I'm just saying, we can slam the draft picks, but to me, we also need to praise some of these picks, namely Jordan Addison, and I remain incredibly bullish on J.J. McCarthy. And I would not give up on Dallas Turner either.
Yeah.
Like, Has he even turned 22 yet?
Not yet. I think it's May.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's.
I mean, was he about the youngest defensive prospect in last year's draft class?
I think he and JJ might have been close, if not the youngest prospects on both offense and defense. So they definitely went youth movement last year.
I take it back. Dallas Turner just turned 22.
Okay, so happy 2nd. Birthday, Dallas Turner. All right. I'm just saying, you talk to people in Tuscaloosa, best of luck trying to find somebody to slam that kid. I'm just saying, like, there's more there. Let's see it play out a little bit. I would not give up on Dallas Turner.
Yeah, and we've talked a little bit, not on the show, but just privately in some DMs where it's like people want to compare Dallas Turner sometimes to Jared Verse, which I get it, right? Same kind of position, but they're being asked to do two different things. Like Jared Verse was asked to strictly rush the passer, see ball, get ball, sack quarterback. Like it's a lot easier for a rookie coming in to do something like that. Whereas Dallas Turner is being asked to do a lot more than just that, right? He's being asked to drop into coverage. He's being asked to rush the passer as well. So, and he's younger. So until he reaches maybe that Jared Verse age, I'm ready to just sit back and watch him kind of develop.
I think the issue is, I don't remember all the particulars they gave up to move up to get him, right? That if you had just stayed where you were, was there any possibility he would have fallen that far? Probably not, but you would have felt better, right? It's all the draft ammo you had to give up to get up to that spot. But I'm just saying, just turning 22 years old, you're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Matt, you're right. All the stuff that Brian Flores is asking of him. And hey, you know why he asks all of that? Because he did a lot of that stuff for Nick Saban at Alabama. Very complicated defense at Alabama. So he's got the brain width, the brain power to absorb and consume and then show it on the field, right? Like study hard, Monday through Saturday, then let it fly on Sundays. He is capable. He is. Let's just give it a little bit more time. Let's please just give it just at least one more year. If we want to have a conversation, February of 26, if we do this again 1 year from now, do we look back at 25 and say, okay, it didn't click? Okay, in that moment, 2 years, body of work, okay, you may be able to get me to bend enough. But right now, I'm not bending whatsoever. I'm really believing in Dallas Turner being a really good player for a long time.
Yeah. And Doogie, speaking of brain power, switching topics to maybe the A topic for the Vikings offseason, early on, you right around the new year heading into this past year, you were pretty strong that you did not see Sam Darnold back, again this year. And, I just wanted to reach out to you after the comments that, Kevin O'Connell was in New Orleans to become coach of the year and all this stuff. What are you hearing anything to make you think that you would even change your mind in the slightest about, possibly Sam Darnold being, back again this year? Or, what does that process look like? Do you think that there's any possibility of a tag and trade, or are we just going to see Sam Darnold enter free agency here in a few weeks?
Yeah, I mean, Nick, that's the thing for me. It's not the question of will Sam Darnold be back? The question is there a trade to be worked out? So you slap the franchise tag on him, then reach an immediate trade agreement with the Raiders or someone else, or do you just allow him to reach unlimited, no resistance free agency, right? That come 1 month from now, he's just there on the open market. You won't receive, well, you could receive, I guess, a compensatory pick depending on how things shake out. I guess that would be what the 26 draft. But really, probably, or at least the possibility is that you're not going to be compensated whatsoever. That to me is the bigger conundrum equation that I'm trying to solve, not will Sam Darnold be back. And hey, Tom Pelissero, one of my favorite people, one of the greatest bachelor parties I've ever been to. I've been to too many, right? That's why, at 45, right? In many ways, all the partying I did in my late teens, 20s, and 30s, I have the body of a 65-year-old, not a 45-year-old, right? And that was one of the all-timers, right? Tommy's one of my guys. Him and I go way, way back, right? And hey, it's not like Tom's making it up. I mean, the contacts that Tom has, it's off the charts, right? Like there's a reason why he is one of the best NFL reporters in this country. He is so darn good. The amount of contacts he has established. I remember when he was .com Tom at KFAN 20-something years ago, just building everything, cultivating all the relationships. Now it's very much paying off. It has been paying off for a really long time. He knows everybody, including everybody at TCO Performance Center, everybody in New Jersey that's important when it comes to Vikings decision makers. So I get it when he's saying, hey, he can see a scenario where Sam is back because he's hearing that. I'm just telling you, I can't wrap my arms around the idea of Sam Darnold being back. They have so many holes they need to patch up. They do, even coming off 14 wins. We saw it, right? Like, look at the Eagles dominating in the trenches, right? We know the Vikings need a guard or two. They need an interior defensive lineman. They very much wanted Wilkins a year ago. They lose out on that bidding war, right? They still have needs. You can't check all those boxes if you're committing 30-something million or 40-something million to Sam Darnold. You drafted J.J. McCarthy for a reason. By the way, Kevin O'Connell said that in at least one interview. So all the stuff he said about Darnold, at one point he did say in New Orleans, we drafted J.J. McCarthy for a reason. Kevin O'Connell's words at that podium in Eagan in mid-August were incredibly calculated. When he said, I'm paraphrasing, I don't have the exact verbiage, but when he said, hey, we have our franchise quarterback, trust me, he knew what he was saying. Mm-hmm. He believes that. You mean to tell me that that franchise quarterback is about to sit on the bench for a second consecutive year? I'm sorry. When all the other guys in his draft class are on the field, I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. So I fully expect this to be J.J. McCarthy's team. Now, hey, if he falls flat on his face in August, if he demonstrates somehow that he's not ready for week one come September, okay. Daniel Jones or whomever that other quarterback is, okay. Like maybe, okay, that's a scenario where Jones or whoever it is starting week one. But I don't foresee a scenario where that starter in week one is Sam Darnold.
I got a question for you on the tag and trade front. So it's been speculated that could be an option for the Vikings. What do you think they could even fetch for Sam Darnold on the open market?
Well, okay, so the Raiders have, is it 2 picks in the 70s?
Yeah.
I wish I had the Raiders draft picks in front of me. I could look it up. Let's see if I can multitask. Oh, wow. Of course, my older son, high maintenance. Okay. So Raiders 2025 draft picks. Let's see what we have for Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly and company. Patrick Graham, nice defensive coordinator hire. I like what Pete Carroll's doing there. So how many draft picks do they have? They have the number 6 overall pick. Okay, so you're not getting the number 6 overall pick. They have, oh, wow, this is a lengthy story. I
looked at that one too.
I
think I really do.
39 and then like 70 and 73 or something like that.
Okay, so they do have 2 picks in the 70s. Okay, so 70 and 73. Can you get pick 73 for Sam Darnold? Is that a possibility? I mean, you'll know. Sure. I mean, we know the tampering happens, so it'll start Sunday night, February 23rd in Indianapolis, or maybe even a little before then, but it'll ramp up 2 weeks from now in Indianapolis at the Combine. You will have a feel if there's a trade to be worked out. The deadline to slap the franchise tag is what, March 5th? So you'll know long before then, okay, there is a trade to be worked out, or no, there just isn't. And hey, if we put the franchise tag on him, there's the fear he might put pen to paper right away. And
right. Yeah. Get that 40
year. We're committed then to Sam Darnold back on the 2025 Vikings at 40-something million, $41 million. And so they will know. It's just the way it works.
Sure.
Right? Through his representation at Creative Arts Agency, the conversations that will take place or already are taking place, they will know if there's a trade to be worked out. But like to me, 73, and the Raiders still have 3 picks in the top 70. I don't think that's asinine. Did you say, Nick, they had, okay, so pick 6 and they have a pick in the second round as well? They have their own second round pick?
I think 39, yeah.
Okay, then it's 70 or 73. Is that from the Devontae Adams trade?
Yep.
Okay, so I mean, I'm just saying, like that makes some sense. Now, is that too much? Is that too rich for Vegas's blood? Maybe. Like Spytech is legit. Like Spytech was very much in the mix here for the GM job. So it's been a long time coming for him to have a chance to run his own front office. So he knows what he's doing. That's a good hire. I really like what the Raiders are doing. Still remains a incredibly difficult division, but I like what they're building. I do. It might still be a year or two. Maybe it's even the next coach after Pete, but I like everything the Raiders have done the last few weeks.
Yeah,
and I just have a hard time believing that they're rolling with a trade up for Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. Now, I guess, I don't know, Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll, I guess, is that a possibility? But Darnold is the clear-cut best free agent quarterback available, even with Week 18 in Detroit, the playoff game against the Rams. I don't think there's any debate. I really don't. I don't think this is – I don't think it's subjective. I think it's fact. Sam Darnold, best free agent quarterback available. And I think the Raiders are going after some vet. I'm sorry, you can't sell me on Aaron Rodgers. You just can't do it. So who is it? Now, is Matthew Stafford back with the Rams? Are we positive of that? So I still wonder about that.
There's speculation.
Doogie, did you see Adam Schefter's little toss-in at the end of the report about the new assistant quarterback coach in New York?
No, but I saw the note that there's a family connection to Stafford. Is Stafford's wife married to that guy?
Yeah, that's the brother.
Brother. That's
the brother. That's the brother-in-law.
Yeah, brother-in-law. Okay.
Yeah,
I knew there was some sort of family connection.
Yeah, that was quite the work by Stafford of tossing in there at the end during all this other speculation.
Well, I mean, heck, remember when we were wondering, okay, are they going to get the KOC extension done? We kept hearing about this guy that's now running the Jets front office with Rick Spielman having some say, and Mike Tannenbaum and whatever that entire setup is with the Jets. But we kept hearing about O'Connell and his college roommate or teammate. And he's got this connection. I can't even remember the guy's name, but he's now the new Jets GM. And so people fearful that all of a sudden, KOC is going to leave. He's going to demand out. The Vikings are going to have to work out a trade with the Jets. No, I mean, KOC was always going to sign an extension, although, hey, those two guys are young enough. It may happen somewhere down the road that those two connect, but I don't think it's going to be anytime real soon. But, yeah, I mean, I wonder about Stafford. Where does he end up if it's not with the Rams? Would Darnold make sense with McVay with the Rams? But, I absolutely can see Darnold connected to the Raiders. That to me makes as much sense as any. Now, I'm not saying it's just the Raiders. You can think about the Steelers. You can think about some of these other teams that need a quarterback. But to me, if we're listing, I've seen some betting odds on Sam Darnold 2025 team. And I've seen the Vikings plus 250. Then it's the Raiders plus 350, the Steelers plus 500, the Giants plus 600, the Titans plus 700, whatever it is. But I'm the Vikings? What?
That's crazy.
I don't get that. But I understand if it's not the Vikings, the betting favorite being the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah. Speaking of some other in-house free agents, one thing I wanted to ask you about is it appears on Over the Cap that February 17th is the date that Aaron Jones, Byron Murphy Jr., Stephon Gilmore, and Sam Darnold's contracts are set to void. I think maybe not so much Darnold and Gilmore, but I know Aaron Jones and Byron Murphy Jr. are two players in which the Vikings would presumably have interest in keeping around. I think that Aaron Jones has vocalized wanting to come back. I think Kevin O'Connell had a interview over this past week where he said that he'd love to have Aaron Jones back too. So, 6 days from now, it seems like they either need to move that date back or there's got to be some sort of action, to get those players, signed by then. So I just don't know if that was anything that was, something you were looking into or if you heard anything about those two players specifically.
I've not, but Nick, I will check on those specific dates because I had somebody send me on Darnold, just going back to Darnold. His contract voids on the 23rd day preceding the first day of the 2025 league year. So what is that date? That 23rd day? He would have needed a void date after the franchise transition designation period ended, like Kirk Cousins had for a tag to be impossible. Somebody asked me if the Vikings couldn't tag Darnold. They can tag Darnold based on that. Yeah. I will have to check on those specific dates. I mean, Over the Cap is really good.
Yeah. Just doing the math, the league year starts on the 12th, and then 17 plus 11 is 28. So that gets us to 23 days. So that looks like the 17th would be the day if you said 23 days. So,
then that makes sense. Okay. Then there we go. So, yes. I mean, two guys they absolutely want back. So I would think it'd be pretty easy if they need to push that back, do whatever caponomics, gymnastics that Rob Brzezinski needs to do to make that work. Yes. I mean, I can't tell you that there's been like any like solid movement right this second on getting both deals done. Absolute interest though. Like I can see both guys back with the Vikings in 2025. But as you're asking me that, Nick, yeah, I mean, I could see, them finding a way to push that date back.
I know they did that with Dalvin Tomlinson years ago.
They've done it before, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so,
just give themselves more time. Yep. Makes sense to me.
But good talking point. In fact, thank you for putting that on my radar.
Yeah, absolutely. Other question. Obviously, we lost Grant Udinski to Jacksonville. Yeah. So there's going to be at least one change. Presumably, Kevin O'Connell will want to add to the staff at that position. Do you foresee any other changes? I think there's still some jobs out there. I think I saw a report earlier about potentially Durante Jones being in the mix for the Saints defensive coordinator job. So I just wondered, are there any other coaching changes that you might expect from the Vikings or anything that Kevin O'Connell might want to shift up? I think on the Twitter speculation would be, the run game has been so bad. Why does Curtis Watkins, it does never need to be moved there or change off his line coach? I don't know if they want to do that, but just anything that you're hearing on the coaching staff.
Yeah, I've not heard of Watkins or anybody else being in trouble. So no, I anticipate what you see is what you'll see here, come OTAs and minicamp as things ramp up late April into May when guys get back on the field. Brandon Staley, is he going to end up somewhere? Is he New Orleans maybe? Not Durante Jones?
I forgot about that name.
Yeah, I think that those were the two leading candidates.
So I wonder if I'd put my money on Staley, not Durante. But Durante is highly thought of. Like you talk to Josh Metellus or Cam Bynum or you name the defensive back, they think the world of Durante. Harrison Smith loves Durante. Now he loves Flo too, but loves Durante. And so, if he's got a chance, hey, more power to him because it probably feels like it's when, not if, just like to me, Josh McCown, when, not if is calling plays and or is a head coach. When, not if B Flo gets another opportunity. I still think the litigation needs to be settled before there's movement on that front. That's the slowest moving court case I've ever seen. Like at some point, you just wrap that thing up. But as long as it's pending, as long as he's suing the league, yes, he got interviews, but I didn't think he was going to get any of these jobs this offseason. So, hey, if you're a Vikings fan, you celebrate the fact that Flores is back. You celebrate the fact
absolutely
that McCown is back. All right? I mean, yeah, Udinski, bright future. Like that's another guy on a fast path. It's unfortunate that he won't call plays in Jacksonville, but I get it. That title matters. So it's when, not if, he will have a chance to call plays. I mean, living in the parking lot of a Walmart in his car just a few years ago to now having, all that power in Jacksonville, even though Liam Cohen will call the plays. So that's a tough loss. But like, if you're asking me, rank the coaches, okay, and who, you want it back and you're okay losing, like, okay, yeah, losing Udinski, it stinks, but you still wanted Flo back and you still wanted McCown back more than anybody else. And so those guys are back.
Why does Wes Phillips' name never come up? Well, and this is just opinion for you, I guess, but is it the DUI? Is that really probably
that doesn't help? Yeah. I mean, that's absolutely a part of this conversation. I will tell you, I think he's really articulate. I think he's outgoing. I really enjoy his media sessions.
Yeah.
And so I like the guy. Clearly has pretty darn good coaching pedigree.
Yeah.
Great coaching family. Right. But yeah, you hear McCown's name way more. You hear, KOC, right? When it comes to the success of the offense, specifically the quarterbacks. You even hear Udinski probably more, than you heard Phillips's name this past year. But yes, West deserves some level of credit. I don't know how to quantify, the pie of, okay, this guy gets 30%, this guy gets 20%, but he deserves some level of credit. He does, right? Like when you have the year they did, yes, we should give him some love. But I'm just telling you, like my pecking order, of who deserves the most love, he's not quite there with McCown or KOC.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, the DUI, I mean, there's no denying that.
Yeah, right.
There just isn't.
Yeah, absolutely plays a factor. We had
and it stinks, right? Like anybody, you Google Wes Phillips, And I don't know if it's like the first thing that comes up, second thing, but you don't have to go real far down a Google search to see all this stuff with the DUI, probably even his mugshot. If you go to images, right? It stinks.
Yeah,
it does. And so that's absolutely a black eye.
Yeah. We had Ben Gessling on a couple weeks ago, and we asked him the same question. I just want to know if maybe things have changed and you have any heads up. But Harrison Smith looked like he was headed towards maybe hanging it up after the season. Pretty emotional. Was going to take some time to think on it. But with Brian Flores officially back after the hiring today of Kellen Moore in New Orleans, do you think that moves the needle enough for Harrison Smith to say, you know what, I got one more in me?
I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't.
Right.
I don't have any deep insight. It's another thing on my list. I'm telling you, this Wolves arbitration stuff and other things have clogged me pretty good.
Sure.
The last 2-ish weeks after the KOC Kwesi season-ending news conferences. Plus, I wanted to let things settle down a bit post Super Bowl. So it's on my list. Heck, I'll join you guys again next week if you want. We can do this again in this space next week. I'll have a better answer for you. So this is more gut feeling, not a whole lot of insight, but I wouldn't be shocked. Now, I get it. The contract, figuring that out.
Yeah.
Like there's some layers there. There's some hurdles. It's not quite as simple as, yes, okay, Harrison Smith wants to play. Because I still need to know what the contract looks like. But like, as far as I can tell, Vikings people still think there's some good football in there. And I feel like he still feels like there's some good football in there. And loves Durante, loves B-Flow. So knowing that B-Flow is back, and it appears that Durante is back, but the love he has for B-Flow, I wouldn't be. Now we get it. He's got all sorts of interests, right? And now being a dad, and so he's got a lot going on in his life. He does. But I could see it. Plus, seeing how special this group is, why can't they make another deep run next year? Like, I'm just saying, like, I know a lot of people in the moment right after the Rams loss were like, that's it. The interview he did with Ben Lieber, how emotional that was.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. I'm not. I may be next week. We'll do this again next week. I may be there next week, but I'm just not there yet.
That makes sense. Are there any free agent names we should be watching out for? Any guys that you think could be on the radar?
Well, I mean, look at the guard list, right? I'm not the first person to volunteer Trey Smith's name, but look at the top guards available, and I imagine they have interest in all those guys, right? Can they make the money work? And hey, there's going to be 10 to 12 teams in on a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
So can they win the recruiting battle? But just pull up, go to Over the Cap or PFF or whatever your favorite website is. Look at the top free agent guards available. And I can promise you now, some of it's scheme, so maybe study scheme and all that, but the Vikings are going to have interest in a guard or two. They are going to have interest in an interior defensive lineman. We get it. You need to figure out the defensive backfield. I'll be surprised. I know they had dialogue throughout the summer trying to work something out on Cam Bynum. I just have a hard time believing right now that they're going to get that done. And hey, I'll miss him. If he's gone, I'll miss him. Love that guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know if they're going to pay him the number that some other team will pay him.
I feel like they have too healthy of opinion of Theo Jackson to make that work, and if Harrison's back and some in-house options. But yes, and I mean, just overall philosophy. How much money are you investing in that position? Doesn't make sense. And like, okay, if you're paying Murphy, are you then paying Bynum? I don't know if you're paying Murphy and Bynum. And of the two, I would say there's a better chance that Murphy's back.
Makes sense. That makes sense for sure. I think we've covered most of the Vikings topics as of now, right? Everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's always something, right? I mean, they have so many free agents. We literally could go name by name, but I got to get back to the office. Keep an eye on, of all things, the Minnesota Frost game. They're up in Toronto. I got to keep an eye on some stuff here at Channel 5. But there always is, Matt. I guarantee there's going to be something that happens in the next 5 hours that turns into a talking point. And you're going to be like, oh, crap. I wish we were talking to Dukes now, not earlier tonight. So
we'll be in the DMs.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, with all the free agents they have, Like we could do an hour just going name by name by name. Okay, is this guy back? Is this guy not back? What do they think of this guy? What's the money look like for that guy? So we could do multiple hours.
Yeah,
but we'll do it again. Yeah.
Or even guys like Garrett Bradbury, Ed Ingram that are currently on the roster.
Ed Ingram, cap casualty, that makes all sorts of sense. Until I hear otherwise, like be careful what you wish for on Bradbury.
That's what I say.
I don't know.
That's my stance. I want to see him with guard play next to him.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I haven't heard that. I know a lot of people were like, what the heck are you talking about? Of course, cut Garrett Bradbury. Whatever the dead cap hit is, fine, but you're saving some money. You guys probably know the exact numbers. I don't top my head, but I haven't heard that. I haven't. And so till I hear otherwise, I anticipate Garrett Bradbury being back. But Ed Ingram, like, okay, they've already made a determination there. Now, I don't foresee Dalton Reisner being back. So if you want to think, okay, Ingram can recapture that spot, but I don't know. Ed Ingram makes sense as a cap casualty. Bradbury, not so much on my front.
Also, real quick, I just want to throw out there, over the cap also is doing is projecting the player performance escalators, and Ed Ingram actually qualifies that his base salary will go up to $5.2 million, which is the second round tender on the RFA. So something maybe to look into. I don't think that the NFL has announced those yet, but if over the cap is correct and his base salary jumps up to 5.2 and it's just $385,000 in dead money, there's no way.
No, and I mean, I feel another guy. I mean, he's never once turned me down, even when he got benched. He's like, sure, I'll talk to you. Like, just really enjoy my interactions. And I get it. There were some red flags pre-draft. I understand all that. I'm just reacting to the Ed Ingram I got to know the last few years. And to every interaction I've had with Ed, big fan of that guy. And so if they do make the move, I will miss him. But you lay out the numbers, it makes complete sense why they would make that move.
Yeah, It's a business at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Well, we will have to definitely get you back on, Doogie. I know you got to jump and do some things. I got to go give a kid a bath, so it's life takes over here. But I appreciate you.
You're ready to sing Rubber Ducky, you're the one.
Can we just keep you on so that you can sing to the
let me just bring
I don't think anybody wants to hear me sing. I promise you. Nobody wants to hear that.
But no, I appreciate it. We'll have you on again. We'll get some things locked in. Enjoy all the spring training stuff coming up. The closure on the Wolves arbitration. The combine's not too far away, so we'll be
hearing about all these combine invites. And I was lucky enough on Friday up in the Northwest Metro, was at a workout with Joe Alt, but also Danny Strigo was there, Quinn Carroll, actually a bunch of guys from the University of Kansas, North Dakota State, a few guys that received combine invites. But just watching Joe Alt work out, and hey, it feels like he was just on the field, Chargers-Texans playoff game. But watching that guy do what he does, what a treat. So football's always on my mind. By the way, this may be a ridiculous statement after 1 year, but Joe Alt, I'm just telling you, Joe Alt, for sure, multi-time All-Pro. Like, I feel 100% confident about that. I also feel relatively confident that 15, 20 years from now, we'll look back and say Joe Alt, right up there with Larry Fitzgerald Jr., as the best player NFL history to come out of the Twin Cities that played high school football in the Twin Cities. I think Joe Walt's ceiling is that high. Special kid, special talent.
Let's hope he stays healthy and can continue that, because that's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, and they moved him to right tackle, which I get because they have Slater, right? Harbaugh knows what he's doing with the LA Chargers.
100%.
Right? So, I mean, he played left tackle in South Bend for the Irish, but he made that transition look just effortless.
Flawless,
moving from left tackle to right tackle. You think about his dad being in the Chiefs Ring of Honor. So his dad, John, had an unreal professional run, but I think Joe is going to far exceed. As good as his dad was, Joe's going to be better.
That's awesome. Let's see it. You heard it here first. Hall of Famer.
I don't know about that. It's a slippery slope. I'm like teetering on the edge of that. Like everything I explained, especially when I'm grouping him with Larry Fitzgerald Jr., screams Hall of Fame. I just think it's a little delicate after 1 year to declare, okay, I feel like that guy's going to be.
That's a statement. If
in
you were
the
to
Hall
make
of
that
Fame.
one.
But I'm telling you, like I was right there on the edge, right? Like everything I said pretty much screams Hall of Famer, Canton bound one day. bottom line, I love the kid. It was fun watching him work out on Friday. So point is, football very much on my mind after watching a bunch of guys work out, getting ready for their pro days last Friday.
For sure. Well, thank you again for hopping on. For everyone listening and watching, hit like, subscribe. We'll be back with more content. Doogie will be back here eventually. We'll get him.
Happy to do it next Tuesday if you want to follow up on Harrison Smith.
Oh, well,
maybe we do it. Maybe we do it. I'll hit you up after the show. But until next time, Skol Vikings, everybody.